We went to a market in Mexico. Let's talk about it. Mexico. It's kind of like this mysterious entity that America tries to tell you not to go to. Every time you go on the news, you are seeing that there's some crime or this bad thing happened or that bad thing happened. And going to Mexico, especially Mexico City, it's kind of vilified. It's kind of mysterious. It's this thing that we don't know about, but we think we're really scared of.
Crashing into this world of horror, a beautiful woman and 3 adventurers dare to challenge the unknown in a land where life and love is ruled by the Lord of Nightmares.
When Ellie would say to Charlie, where should we travel? I want to go to Mexico, but the American media has made it seem like it is incredibly dangerous. What should we do? I said, the media, let's go.
Yeah, but also even our parents were petrified at the idea of us going.
Well, I'm not going to say our parents, but I will say that they were overly cautious for something that we considered safe, especially after research.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Now you see what difference a little mistake can make. This was only a computer projection.
It's like a cultural, historical, layer cake. It was Aztecs, then it was conquered by the Spanish, then it was conquered by bits of, and then Mexico became Mexico, and then America tried to take most of Mexico, and it's just all this cultural, historical layering that makes it mysterious and makes it unique. And also, it's just fascinating at the fact that this is civilization that has grown over time, right? And I wanted to go see it. I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to understand what our cultural brother was and why are we so scared of it?
And I just wanted to go because I thought it looked beautiful, and I wanted to learn about the culture, and I wanted to learn about the food, and I wanted to travel internationally for the first time with my wife. And yeah, I had not thought about the 1,000 years of geopolitical struggle in the region, but when I was there, I was certainly impacted by how many cultures have graced Mexico and how there are remnants of Aztec and Mayan and Spanish and Native Mexican and Oaxacan and I guess, yeah.
In 2022, I approached Charlie about going on a trip to Mexico City. I didn't really know what we were going to expect, but I wanted to see what it would be like because it's just so unique and different to me. And Charlie was down. He's a trooper. He's a good travel partner. I highly recommend him, but he's mine and you can't have him.
You can't have me. I'm taken.
Yes. So we decided to go to Mexico City and we went around May. The first thing I really wanted to do was experience a market because when I was younger, in my younger years, I had gone to a market in Peru and I just felt it was more than just a tourist destination. It was a place where people came and went and lived their day-to-day lives. They were trying to sell you something because it's a market, but they weren't trying to create a false persona of who they were. They were just selling what they needed to sell. And it's great to go to a place where you are introduced to foods that you would have never thought about, ever, in a million years. And I wanted to show Charlie that. What did you think?
Who, me? Asks Fred. Oh, no, I'm not much of a speech maker. But the club man is persistent. Sure you can do what he says. We want to hear all about your trip to Alaska. Fred's protests are to no avail. We'll count on you for next Thursday, says the club man. And he's gone. Fred, whether he likes it or not, is committed to make a speech. Fred's trapped.
Initially, when you told me, I was probably apprehensive. Doing a market tour was probably not high up on my list of things I wanted to do in Mexico City. I was really excited to go to a luchador match. I was really excited to do tequila and mezcal tastings. We got more than enough tequila and mezcal. That did not need to be on our schedule. So the market was not something I expected to be really fun. It was so fun. It is without a doubt the best introduction to another nation or culture I could have expected, because it is overwhelming how big it is, how many smells, how many sounds are coming at you. And we had incredible guides who explained everything to us and showed us the details of the market. And I'm sure you have a map for how you want to describe the market experience. I won't jump into it, but it was dope.
I was also kind of apprehensive, but that's because traveling as a vegan is really hard. Like, you are kind of like the friendly little leaf eater that comes into the group, and you're like, can I have some kale? And you don't want to...
This is coming from a vegan who's been vegan for over 10, 12 years now. I am spoiled as a new vegan. I've been vegan for like 4 years. So as far as an international trip goes, this was not hard. But I think it's because Ellie planned it and has been doing it longer. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
When I travel, I want to still be vegan. I still want to follow my morals. However, I don't want to ruin someone's culture because of it. I don't want a restaurant or a eatery to have to bend over backwards for me, because that doesn't help my cultural experience.
Yeah, you want to carry your beliefs with you, but not impose or restrict anyone you come into contact with.
Yeah.
I hope you got something good to eat tonight. Hi, Mom. The coach really gave us a workout. Oh, boy, ham! I'm so hungry I could eat a neutral and see what he gave us to do.
Sure.
Huh?
Could you serve yourself in a less athletic manner?
Oh. Is this better?
I think sometimes when you're introduced to a country and you're vegan, you're a little scared to take that risk of going to a market to experience street food or experience some sort of vendor that's going to sell you something, because you don't want to be like, oh, is there fish in this? Because they might be like,
yeah,
who cares, And so I was really happy to have this sort of start to our trip, because this broke down all of those barriers. And I actually found the company through Airbnb, and the company is called Trippers MX. It's a small group of people that are the most welcoming people I have ever met. Our tour guides were two people named Gio and Arami.
I have a photo of the business card. We'll put it in right here. I'm pretty sure it's Arami and Gio.
Starting off, the first moment of when we woke up, what was it like? What was it like going all the way to the Central City area? What was that like?
Wow, what a broad, big question. We started our morning with photos in the elevator, a theme that we kept every time we got in the elevator, a sort of fashion check-in to see how our look sized up. And then we went out into Mexico City, in the Roma Norte district, which is where our hotel was, and we walked to the meeting area, which was a square, probably maybe a mile away. And in that walk, we were the only people awake.
It was so cool.
It was bonkers. It was like a doomsday cityscape in that there was no one, but it was beautiful because Mexico City is a jungle city, which means it has the architecture of a modern city, but with the actual jungle fauna or flora. Mm-hmm. Hopefully not too much fauna.
With Roma Norte, it has the European vibes of that sort of structure, but there's these giant vines that are coming out from the walls. It feels a little bit like Tomb Raider.
It does. And we got ourselves to an intersection where there were no people around, and there was such a crazy canopy of leaves over the top of the intersection, and the sun was rising, that we did a little photo shoot where I tried to look really cool and Ellie tried to look less hot and failed.
No, you looked great.
Yeah, but you failed at looking less hot. Smoke show.
You.
And then we walked to square, more in the metropolitan area of the city, and took some selfies. And actually, I recall playing a little game where we were people watching, trying to figure out who was in our group.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know where we were meeting, and we didn't know who else was waiting. And so we'd look around, and we'd be like, oh yes, they look like they're visiting a market.
Arami and Gio come out. They greet all the groups. We were right, I think, about 3 of them.
Yeah, I think we got like 3 of the 10.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of like solo travelers. There were couples. There were families.
Going back to what you said, there were
It's not going so well, is it?
there were solo travelers, which is like a really good point that like this sort of group was a really safe and friendly place for someone that was solo traveling.
So this was pretty cool. So that is Gio, who was one of our 2 guides, and he brought us to, I believe it was a subway mural of the Mercado de la Merced. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but it kind of gave us a cultural overview and a sort of top-down bird's eye view of what the market would look like. I don't know how I would have navigated the market with this in my head, because once you are in there, it is like a coliseum of food and
It's like its own city.
Yes.
Like it was that big. It was massive.
You are about to know the thrill of seeing that which has never been seen before. You are about to enter a beautiful, exciting, wonderful new world, the world of 1960. For the first time in history, you'll see not one, not 2, but 3.
I wanted to have a situation where I can, first off, learn about things that I have never known before, because how else will I learn that?
I don't know.
And I wanted to just like really have someone translate stuff in a better way than I can translate.
So we arrived at the Mercado de la Merced, and Ellie, where does the story go?
Okay, so first we had to have breakfast, which was great because I was starving at that time. I remember distinctly thinking, I'm so hungry. And we get to a spot, and I think it was a really interesting sort of feeling. I think all the groups were kind of feeling at the same time, where we weren't quite sure if this was going to be a good experience, if we were going to enjoy it. It felt a little bit like just we didn't know what we should say to each other. Like, should we be friendly? Should we not?
Everybody's got their guard up at this point because you're unsure if you should drop your guard, open up, have some fun, or if there's fun to even be worth having had. And so this breakfast, I think, brought in enough energy and enough excitement for us and enough newness that everybody started opening up, which was cool.
100%. I think food just kind of does that. I had approached them before saying that both Charlie and I were vegan. And I said, could you accommodate for that? And interesting enough, there was other groups that I had approached about the same thing. And they said, no, we can't accommodate. This group, however, said, yes, we can. We can really like help make sure you have a great experience. And so like I had approached Gio and Arami and said, hey, we're the vegans. Hey. And they were like, oh, we got this. You can have the quesadilla. And I was like, ooh.
What do you think will be the next obstacle the Earth people will put in our way?
Well, as long as they can think, we'll have our problems.
I don't know.
Quesadilla. I can't have
Quesadilla starts
cheese.
with queso, so
yeah, I can't have cheese. But they were like, oh, we generally don't put cheese in a quesadilla. And that's just a thing that was brought over by the Spanish. Aztec never really had the whole milk situation going on. When it came to meat, it was very scarce because it was an island that was pretty much just, empty.
Arami saying that the native Mexican diet was largely vegetarian and almost entirely vegan, mostly because, as Ellie was saying, there weren't a lot of meat or dairy sources, and it wasn't until the Spanish came over that they really brought in with them meat and dairy. So this sort of native culture cuisine that we got for breakfast was very easy to make dairy-free and meat-free, which was pretty rad.
So we had the option of how we wanted to make our quesadilla. Charlie, like a champ, basically said, let's do one where it's squash blossoms, right? Wrap that up. And then the other one, we would do mushrooms and a type of corn called it's a fermented corn.
And I don't know it either.
Yeah. So basically, there's a fermented corn that was a staple for the Aztecs and is still loved today by Mexico. And that one is very nutrient dense. It offers all the protein and all the B vitamins needed. It's a type of fermentation that happens deep in the corn that makes it turn a little bit purple. And that fermentation is edible for us. So we had that with the mushrooms to create the most delicious quesadilla, right?
Good evening. How did you get in? Who are you? I'm a friend.
So one of the coolest parts is we actually got to see the chef make the tortilla. They milled blue corn in front of us and then pressed the tortilla flat and then fried it almost kind of hibachi style, just on like a flat on a flat top grill. And I respectfully asked if I could take a video. I had Arami or Gio translate it, and the woman who was making the tortilla said yes. So insert footage of the woman making the blue corn tortilla.
Good job, Charlie.
Thank you.
Pretty much at that moment, even though it was the first thing we had to do, I was set. This was the best trip ever. I love that market. That I was like, we could go home now. It was so good.
Honey, you surprised me. Your coffee's terrific.
No more complaints?
You can make coffee for all my barbecues.
So the quesadilla was delicious. Squash blossoms very quickly made it into our diet here in the States. I remember, Ellie, you loved it so much that I either made a note or just remembered to get squash blossoms like your first week back in LA, which is pretty cool. Terrific breakfast. And then we got to try the actual fermented corn, this blue corn, separately. I remember thinking it was like, it kind of tasted just like any fresh vegetable, but had more like a cheesy consistency to it. It was weird. It was a weird fungus corn thing that I could tell when I was eating it was very healthy. All, purple and blackened and, greens and whites all coming from this corn kernel, soft enough to chew into. I probably wouldn't snack on it, but I can see the tasty health benefits of it.
I thought it tasted amazing in the quesadilla. Like it really kind of pops. It has more of like nutritional yeast mixed in with corn feel to it, and it does create more of a chewy taste to it when it's like cooked. Raw did not taste good, did not like it, was not a fan. But like, hey, to each their own. Something I would never have experienced.
So we had our breakfast and we had our corn tasting, and then we got to try candy.
All kinds of ice cream and candy to tempt you. Showtime will be announced loud and clear to get you back to your car in time.
Very exciting, because anytime you get a tiny little spoon and you get to try little tastings of candy, I like to think that I'm a giant who gets to try like walking through, the human world. No, but for real, walking through this market and seeing the different sections, there was like a piñata section, there was a candy and mole section. We'll get back to the mole in a moment, I'm sure. But the candy was these little scoopers and almost like this like molasses or like caramel sauce that you would just dip in different types of powdered candy. And there were a bunch of different kinds. I don't know what my takeaway from that was, other than like, this is cool. This is what native Mexican market candy tastes like. And I'm not a big candy or sweets person, but I certainly wasn't going to turn down, candy at 9 a.m.
The candy that we were trying was tamarind, which is not a native plant in Mexico. That was actually brought over by the Spanish from Africa. I had always known about tamarind. I have always had friends that liked tamarind candy. And for some weird reason, I was a stubborn person that was like, I don't want to have that. That sounds gross. But for the longest time, I was against it. And then I became vegan, so I assumed I couldn't eat it. Turns out I can. And I loved it.
Yeah, know, but there's got to be a better way of dealing with your fears than just screaming your head off. I own up to what I'm afraid of and try to understand why it's making me scared. Because knowledge is power, and if we understand what's making us scared, it helps make it go away, especially when we learn there's nothing to be afraid of.
I thought it was like caramel as well, but like a little bit sweeter than caramel.
Yeah, like sweeter and more sour. It's just different. I don't know. It's caramel
adjacent. It's a great combo. And, yeah.
Good.
Yes.
I'm certainly in favor of those things. Who isn't?
And then after came beers.
Okay, so this one I can be an authority on. After we got our candy and our breakfast, we walked around this market a little bit. I'm pretty sure that I had Ellie lead me so that I could take those photos where your partner is pulling you along and their hand is, reaching back towards you. Took a lot of videos of her butt, too. I'm not sure if that'll make it into this section, but they're pretty cool.
Hilariously, I thought it was because I would lose, like, the tour and, like, go the wrong way, and he was going to be like, no, go right, go right.
Look on both sides of the road. Look ahead to the next intersection or hill or curve, whatever. And that way you can anticipate a potential head-on before it occurs. The second R is to ride to the right. You should always drive in the center of your lane, but if you see an oncoming car coming into your lane, you want to pull immediately as far right as possible.
No, I was just taking a lot of videos.
There were so many people, though. Like, there was a lot of people at this market. Like I said before, it's like that experience of, like, people are literally just going to the market to either just get their food for the day or just to go to work or whatever. No one's trying to sell you something that is cheap and ugly or anything like that. No one is trying to create this false persona of what Mexico City is. This is just what Mexico City is. It's a bunch of people living their life day to day, trying to do the best they can. And it was packed because this market, like we said before, is like a city. It's a massive area filled with people that are just trying to, like, work.
This, fully functioning local market caters to the locals, the local business owners, and the families who are purchasing their food or supplies for the day or the week, and is, I'm sure, a tourist spot for those of us that were coming through that wanted to see the culture, but there weren't really like tourist shills in this market. It wasn't like anybody was trying to take advantage of anyone visiting. It was all very much for the actual native Mexico City business owners and families. But it was sprawling. So when you throw beer into the mix, a michelada, if you will, it felt a little loopier afterwards.
Yeah. It was also funny because it's like Charlie and I are people that will always love to have fun. And like we get this beer that's like this big.
Oh my God, it was so big.
And like we were like, we're so full.
No, Ralph isn't enjoying his dinner much. Maybe it's because of that candy bar he had just before dinner. Whatever it is, Ralph's good time with Frank and Judy is spoiled.
And we're trying to drink it, and we're just like, it was fun, right? Yeah. It was vegan, and we were having a great time about all of that, but like, we were just like, oh my God, I'm so full.
They hand me, a 4-beer large sippy cup full of beer.
Yeah.
And I was a little nervous. I was excited, but I was nervous.
I just felt so full. I don't even think I was able to finish mine. I had to give mine to Charlie.
Which I probably did finish.
We're walking around. We're seeing all the like various foods and like things and objects and everything. It's just a visual like overstimulation, right? There's so much to see, so much to smell. So many people that are talking to you. It's really overwhelming. And then we see the mole station. And what was the mole station like?
So mole, as I learned, means ground. And it actually refers to many different things ground up. So guacamole would just be ground avocado. What's funny is that you can now watch the clip where Aramy actually says exactly that. And you hear Ellie go, oh. So we'll play that clip here.
It comes from the Nahuatl, the Aztec language, mole. And it means ground. So for example, guacamole is aguacate, that the Nahuatl is avocado, ground, just that. But it's a sauce, and it's really complex. Mole is like the gravy in the States. So no one has the exact recipe.
That was
I didn't remember.
Well. Yeah, no, I didn't remember that either. I literally just reviewed the footage right before filming this. But it was cool. So we got to try mole in a bunch of different flavors because, as Arami said, mole means ground. So it really refers to the texture of what you're eating. And there is, I believe, a traditional mole, which is made from... Chocolate.
Yeah.
Boy, would I have guessed wrong. But it's delicious. This part of our market experience probably sticks out to me the most because that felt like a type of food tasting experience that you don't get anywhere in the States.
Yeah.
Unless there is a mole experience that I'm unaware of, this is the first time that I had tried it.
I had known about mole for a while, but it was kind of like the same thing with tamarind for me, where I was like, it doesn't sound appetizing. I did not want to have chocolate sauce. And I also didn't really want mole thinking, oh, it's probably not vegan.
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction.
It is a vegan sauce. And it is delicious and it's complex and has so much flavor that is more than just chocolate. Like, I felt like I could barely taste the chocolate. The mixture of the cumin and the paprika and all of that stuff was more heightened with the chocolate. And I felt like the chocolate was more of like a guiding, like, little substitute teacher that's letting the kids be the ones that are in charge, right? It's like instead of it being like a little play of all the... Sorry, is that stupid?
No, I like it. You're really painting a scene. It's a very social scene to describe a flavor, which is very hard for me to contextualize, but it's cool. Keep going.
I mean, if mole was like a kindergarten play, the chocolate was the teacher that's kind of guiding all the flavors to be in charge and to make the mole stand out.
And if mole was like a band, it's probably like one professional singer-songwriter who had a breakup with his previous band, who now has found talented younger musicians, School of Rock style, and is showing them how to be, a flavorful music group.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my one big regret about Mexico City was not buying mole and bringing it back.
And you made a fool out of yourself and everything. But did you notice something, Charlie Brown? What's that? The world didn't come to an end.
If you're vegan and you want to try something, definitely do a mole sauce on top of a sauteed vegetable dish, especially with the squash blossom and the squash. Ooh, that would be delicious.
Yes, indeed.
Next to some rice?
Ooh. Oh, my God. Throwing in rice on top of the mole? How spoiled are we?
I know. I love it.
So all in all, I felt like our first day in Mexico City was a huge hit, one that ended with a tequila tasting.
Yeah.
At Gio and Arami's tequila stand. This was pretty cool. I gather that one of them comes from a family that runs a tequila distillery, or if I'm butchering that, it's that they have the stand and they bring in tequila from their or another close family's tequila distillery. But this tour ends with tequila shots, and they made sure that we only tried the vegan ones, and we have photos to show you.
Here they are.
Here they are. Look at these photos.
Look at them fly.
They're
moving around.
Empty board of us.
It's on my face.
Yeah, so we're floating around now.
So yeah, the tequila thing was great. It was just great to be able to put our thumbtack on the wall to say that we were there. We took photos with Arami and Gio. We had such a welcoming, wonderful experience. Mm-hmm. And I just as a vegan, I highly recommend this just because it's something where you can fully experience the cultural wonder of Mexico City without having to sacrifice on your own moral values. Like, having something like this allows you to learn about their history, learn about what kind of foods they like, see and experience something through the eyes of someone that's excited to introduce you to their country. And you get to just have something without feeling like you're excluded or you're not included in any of this sort of world. I highly recommend that whenever you go to any country, start off at a market, because that's the place where you get to go to the root of what that country is and who those people are.
Also, do it the way that Ellie did it, which is do your research.
Yeah.
At the top of this video, she mentioned she reached out to a few different tour groups and found one that would accommodate us for being vegans. So I think part of the reason why we had such a good experience is because my wife did the research. If you are going to another country, explore their local market. If it is a bazaar as sprawling as this one, it is going to have so much culture in it, you are guaranteed to experience something. And if you do your research, you're going to be prepared. So you have my stamp of approval. Ellie, this was the best way to start this trip.
Thank you. How would you rate it?
10 out of 10, 50 out of 10.
It's just common sense.
It had everything. It had food, candy, alcohol, photo ops of my wife's butt. I made friends that we follow on Instagram still. I would recommend it. You know, Trippers MX, thank you.
Thank you.
If we can find links to Trippers MX, we will insert them here. And if not,
it will
just
be
Google it.
in the info box down below. I also have a blog article where I talk in depth about our trip, and that is also below. Like and subscribe if you want. If you liked it, if you didn't, don't do anything. Don't write anything mean. I'm very sensitive.
Special thanks to the likers and subscribers. One person who leaves a comment down below will get a response from me.
Only one person.
Only one person. And even then, I'm not guaranteeing it in any reasonable timeline.
See, they're setting up for a game of musical chairs.
Oh, but I don't like to.
And I don't know how to close this out, so I just want to say I hope you have a great day. Bye.